Sit down, be still. Can you just stop for a moment and begin to imagine what I must have been thinking about when I wrote the talk title for tonight? Sit down, be still. There's so many ways to say that. Sit down, be still. Sit down, be still. You know, with the wagging finger. You know, why don't you just sit down and be still? Or simply sit down, be still. No matter how we say it, those 4 words, whether it is an invitation, whether it's a command, whether we just read it as a direct order, it is calling us forth not to necessarily do anything, but to simply be. I'm not the first to say this. You know, we're not humans doing, we're human being. And so many times we get wrapped up in, oh, I have to do this, or I have to do that, or even when we change the words around, I get to do this. I get to wash the dishes today instead of I have to wash the dishes. But sometimes we get so caught up in what we need to do, how we need to be at a particular place, and we got to do this, or we got to do that, or we got to do this, or the other thing. And when it comes to our science of mind philosophy and our science of mind way of life, it's not about the doing as much as it is about the being. And yes, when we do our meditation, when we do our spiritual practice, when we do our prayers, when we do sacred service, and when we're involved in certain things of that nature, what it helps us to do is it helps us to be or to become. And tonight we're taking a look at sit down, the doing of sitting down, but the be still. The opportunity that we get to be still and to recognize in our stillness and in the silence the eternal life that is ours, the eternal broadcast that is broadcasting itself, the eternal message that we can tune into if we're being still and listening enough to catch the eternal broadcast that is really our direction for life. How many times are we just like in this endless cycle of just running and running and running, and finally we need to say to ourselves, just sit down. Or when we can really like take our shoes off and go, oh, I'm so happy to just be sitting down right now. Because our lives are constantly on autopilot or constantly on the go. I was watching a YouTube video, I think it was on multitasking. How many of you are great multitaskers? Raise your hand. Be proud of it. Come on, let me see. Okay. Do you know that we cannot effectively multitask, right? Science has proven it, that we cannot count how many trains in a car and time how fast it's going, as it's going by. That we cannot effectively do 2 things at one time. We're not made up to do that. We are made up to pay attention right here and to be right here, right now. Instead of being here, right now, answering the phone, sending an email, sending a text, typing with your toes. That even though we might think we're effective at multitasking, or that we might be able to juggle lots of things all at once, that really when we separate ourselves and we separate our time or our energy, that we're really not doing any one thing with any efficacy. That we're really giving all of these things a partial attention. And the result of that is that we're doing a lot of things with 70, 80% effectiveness. When really, when we focus on one thing and do one thing and give it 100% of our attention, then we can really shine our light through the work, through the job, through the task, through whatever it is that we're paying attention to. Now, the reason I bring that up is because, I thought for myself that, multitasking was a skill. And, I would go on job interviews and I'd be like, I'm a great multitasker, and I know how to, but in reality, it's a weapon of mass distraction. And it distracts us from the primary thing in which we really want to pay attention to. And then whatever it is that we're doing doesn't really get our full attention. And it doesn't really come out 100% as to how we'd like it to be. Now, I know some of us in the room are parents. And you say, oh, no, Reverend Sunshine, you don't know me. I'm a mom, or I'm a dad, or I'm a stay-at-home dad, or a stay-at-home mom, and I have 2 kids or 3 kids, and I had to raise them and cook and be on the phone and make a da-da-da-boo-boo-boo-da-da, and I did a really good job. Yes, you have. Yeah. I mean, we do. We do what we can with what we have. And yet, when we really take a look at, well, how much time did I really dedicate to cooking? Or how much time did I really dedicate to paying attention to my child? Or how much time did I really pay attention to that email before I hit send and then noticed that there were a few typos in there and I really didn't mean to write would, it should have been should, or whatever it is that it's supposed to be. But we're used to making mistakes, so that's probably, something we can't attribute to multitasking, right? Well, it's just something to look at. It's just something to maybe pay attention to, especially when it comes to our spiritual practice. Especially when it comes to living the genuine life that we're here to live. Especially when it comes to really achieving and really being our full authentic selves. If I'm busy multitasking, if I'm busy in a lot of pots, if I have my hand in so many activities, and I'm going to squeeze in my meditation, or I'm going to pray and meditate at the same time, or I'm going to try to multitask while I'm doing my spiritual practice. Like I want to read the Science of Mind book, while I'm getting my nails done or my pedicure and talking to Sonny on the other line. I'm probably not going to get the fullness of what's before me in either location. I'm not really paying attention to Sonny on the phone because I'm trying to read and prepare for Wednesday night service. Or B, I'm not fully going to enjoy my mani-pedi, which I totally love, if I'm not being fully present. I am only cheating myself when I begin to think that I could be effective at doing 2 to 3 or 4 or more things simultaneously to save time. To save time for what? For what exactly am I saving this time for? So that I can have a better spiritual practice later? Am I getting this stuff all done now so that I can have 30 minutes of uninterrupted prayer or meditation or visioning or sacred service? Or is it just I'm clumping all these things together here so I could clump all these things together here? I bring this up because I believe that it's time for us to stop living a life of mediocrity. That we're not the Dunkin' Donuts guy. Time to make the donuts. That it's not about going to work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, trying to make a living, trying to, wish and chant upon some abundance or some peace of mind or some situation that we want, but yet we're not going to really dedicate the time. We're not going to really sit down and be still and dedicate some real, genuine, uninterrupted time in our spiritual practice that we might indeed taste, just have a little taste of what it's like to be in bliss, to have a little taste of what it's like to have some serenity, to have a little taste or a little sample of what it's like to have an abundant life. If we continue doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting what we're getting. And if we still find ourselves on that treadmill, or if we still find ourselves on that hamster trail, then something has to stop. Something has to be different. We need to relook at what it is that we're doing that has us being the way we're being, and make a shift. And the shift doesn't have to be 180 degrees this way, as much as the shift can simply be a simple shift from here to here. It can be a subtle shift. It can be a slight shift. But anything that moves us from the same old time to make the donuts mentality, the life of mediocrity mentality, that this is all I can achieve and this is all that I'm going to get, this is all that I'm going to have, so what's the use? Or I'm going to pay my dues until I die, or I'm going to pay my dues until I make it. If we continue to have that kind of a mindset, we're still going to keep getting what we're getting. However, if we indeed just even take in just a little bit and shift our focus, or we open up a little bit and are willing to maybe do something different so that we can be in a different state of awareness and consciousness, then we're talking. But I can't be here week after week and let us continue to sleepwalk. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, okay, we kind of glide for a little bit, and then it's like, wake up, beloved. We cannot continue to keep doing the same old things expecting different results. They call that insanity in 12-step program. You keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And the bottom line is that by simply embracing and having a simple shift in our awareness and in our consciousness, we begin to have a different experience. And we must stick to it, though. For some of us, it does happen like the parting of the Red Sea, instantaneously. And for others, it takes a little bit more being in the stillness, being still. There was some joke, and I don't even remember it. But I remember the punchline of it was, so what are you going to do? Just sit there and do nothing? And it's about this guy who meditates about a particular problem. He just sits in meditation while the other guy is just like running circles around, not accomplishing anything. And it's like, what are you going to do? Just sit there and do nothing? And it's like, yes, I am inviting you to just sit there and do nothing. It's like, great. Don't go and tell your boss that this week. Well, Reverend Sunshine just told me to sit here and do nothing. So, no, don't be bringing me any pink slips next Wednesday night, because I'm telling you and inviting you to sit there and do nothing. I am indeed asking and inviting you to sit down and be still. And in that stillness, you can entertain several things. Because I know that for some of us, being still is already a tall order. So if I'm going to ask you to be still and do nothing, that might be an impossibility for some and a welcome invitation for others. So what do I engage in the stillness, sunshine? Come on, like really sit down, be still. What do I engage in the stillness? Well, if you're new to the stillness, which we've been here every week doing at least, 4 or 5 minutes of stillness, just kind of being quiet after my talk. But, how you can use that stillness away from Wednesday night service. Stillness every day. 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is that you can afford to dedicate to start. It might be stillness and just contemplation, thinking about where you are and where you'd like to be. You can be in the stillness with your eyes open. You can be in the stillness with your eyes closed. You can be in the stillness and begin to visualize your next steps. There may be a relationship or a conversation or something that you need to do that might be difficult. Instead of talking to your good girlfriend about what you should be doing, or your best friend about, dude, man, I got this problem, whatever, what should I do? Instead of going outside of yourself for the answer, sit down, be still. Ask your inner self, here's the situation. What's going to be for the highest and best? What is the highest and best outcome? What do I need to say? What do I need to hear? What do I need to know? And in the stillness, simply have a conversation with yourself, with your higher self. Simply take that 2, 3, 5, 10 minutes. Begin to even visualize the steps that you take in moving through the situation with ease and grace. Don't see it coming up like, oh, and then I'm going to say this, and then she's going to go off, and I'm going to have to leave because if she goes off, I can't be in that kind of energy, No. Begin to visualize a favorable outcome. I'm going to say, I don't know the best way to handle this, so I wanted to just have a conversation with you about da-da-da-da-da. And visualize that person saying, I've been wanting to talk to you about the same thing. And how can we work this out so that it's for the highest and the best for both of us? Begin to visualize the answer to whatever situation, whatever problem, whatever job you're seeking, whatever opportunity that you want to have, whatever conversation. Use the stillness and be still, and use that stillness to receive the answers for your life. You can use the stillness to simply be quiet and not even entertain any thoughts, and to simply just allow the thoughts to flow by like clouds that are just passing you by. Whatever it is that you choose to do in the stillness, by all means, do it. Be it. But be in the stillness. Dedicate some time, some effort, some energy, uninterrupted by anything else. So whether you use your stillness for contemplation, for meditation, to have some questions answered for you, be mindful and be deliberate and be on purpose. You know, the reading out of our Science of Mind book for today were 2 meditations, and they were meditations on being still. They were meditations on simply living this life to where when we're still and when we just allow our ears, our inner ears and our outer ears to listen, when we allow our outer eye and our inner eyes to see, when we allow our heart to feel, that we begin to simply be open and receptive to this broadcast. And when I talk about a broadcast, I'm talking about life itself is constantly giving us messages. It's constantly presenting opportunities. Life is constantly arranging itself for our highest good. And if we pay attention, we notice, yes, this is for me. Yes, this is not for me. Yes, this situation is a situation that I've been waiting for. When we allow ourselves to really be still and really be in tune to that divine, eternal broadcast that is happening specifically for us, we align with that truth and we follow its direction, and before you know it, we're living a life beyond our wildest dreams. Everything falls into place. Everything falls into place. But am I too busy? Am I too busy in these tasks, in this doing, that I am too busy to simply be still, to simply sit down and be still? And that's the question that we get to answer individually. Are you happy with what you're receiving? Are you happy with what you're getting? Are you happy with how you're showing up in the world? Or is there an opportunity for us to show up differently? And if there is an opportunity for us to show up differently, then this simple practice of just sit down, be still, is something that we can already incorporate in our lives that would give us the slight little shift so that we might move in a different direction, that we might show up a little more in tune with life's cheerleader and with life's vigor and with life's harmony and life's abundance, just like pouring forth from us, with life's love just pouring out of us. But we have to be willing to be still. And if we're not willing to be still, to be in some type of spiritual practice, to just pause, even momentarily, and take in the beauty and the grandeur of life, to simply take a moment to rest in this truth, then we're constantly going and doing instead of being human, instead of being a human being. So let me ask you this question. When does your heart rest? Between the beats is what Rosedale says. So even your heart pauses and is still. Even your heart pauses and is still. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. It stops. It rests. It is still. Even for that moment before it's added again. And so it is with us, that if we take our cues from life and simply have a moment of pause before you just jump off at the mouth at somebody or fly off the handle. If we just pause, if we take that time to pause and to be still and know that God is right where we are, that our life is that life that God is, that there is nothing outside of a life that is God, that there is nothing that can separate your life from the life of God. If you just pause and ponder or contemplate or see yourself as the life of God, expressing beautifully and magnificently as you, as no one else can, then, and only then are we ready and open and receptive to really receive all that is ours to receive, that we might live fully as the life of God. And so as I invite you now to simply clear away anything that might symbolically be in the way of some time in the stillness, I invite you to gently close your eyes if you choose to. And if you'd like to leave your eyes open, just find a plant or a spot that you can just simply have a soft gaze upon. And as we prepare ourselves, as we prepare to fashion ourselves behind our heart or behind anything that simply pauses to rest, decide now how you're going to use this time in the stillness, this time in the silence. If there's something that's weighing upon your heart, use this time now to be open to listening to that inner guidance system. Ask yourself, your higher self, the question and listen for the answer. If you choose, you use this time to visualize a great and fabulous outcome for a situation. Or if you simply want to just rest and be still and unwind from the day, we can simply use this time in the stillness and in the silence to just have that space of nothingness between the thoughts. But however we choose to use this time, know this one thing. Right where you are, God is. Right where you are, life is. Right where you are, abundance is. Right where you are, love is. Joy, peace, prosperity, health and wholeness and well-being, beauty and divine creativity is who you are. Right where you are. All of this is true right now. So we allow ourselves to use this time for our highest and our best.